So this is probably the most Virgoan video I've ever made in my entire life. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing my top 3 tips for using astrology to be much more productive and happier in 2021. And so in this video, I'm going to be covering a few different topics here. I'm going to be discussing, first off, the Mars placement, so the placement of your natal Mars in the signs and how that shows what motivates you and how to stay motivated throughout the entire year. I'm also going to be discussing Mars cycles and Mars transits because that's another area of focus where you're going to kind of get information about where you're feeling really lit up and really excited and really like ready to get moving. So where to focus and direct your energy at different times throughout the year. And then the third thing I'm going to be discussing is the 6th house in your natal chart and the sign placement in the 6th house. So which sign is in your 6th house? Also, which planets are in your 6th house, that can be important to look at as well if you want to go a little bit deeper, and how to work with the energy in terms of your daily rhythms and cycles based on your 6th house energy, because that's what the 6th house represents. The 6th house is what you do to maintain your very existence on a day-to-day level when it comes to nutrition, daily health habits, daily routines in general, and also your day-to-day work routines that make up the bigger picture. And so all of these things are super important to look at if you are aiming to create a flow, to create a schedule, to create an environment that's going to enhance your productivity so you can be much more focused and so you can be much more successful in the new year. And this isn't just for 2021, this is like for forever. So if you learn to work in harmony with these energies, you create new habits and you stick to them, these are things that will benefit you for years and years to come. At the end of the video, I'm also going to include one bonus tip that I won't give you a teaser on yet because you're going to have to wait until the end. So stick around for that if you're interested in learning more. But let's get into the first tip that I have for you. The very first tip that I have to help you to move more in harmony with your chart and to increase your productivity for the new year and beyond is to determine your Mars placement, what sign it's in. You don't even have to have a birth time for this. All you have to do is to look up the day of your birth, get an ephemeris, or even just Google search where Mars was on the day you were born in terms of the tropical zodiac, and you're going to get a lot of really important information. Mars rules our motivation. It shows what motivates us to take action. It rules our willpower, our personal volition. It rules our ambitions, our goals, what gets us fired up and what gets us really feeling passionate. If you're not in tune with the energy of your Mars placement and the sign that it's in, you're going to feel lackluster. You're going to feel dull, depressed, bored. You're not going to have motivation to keep going. So in any important task that you're taking on, regardless of whether it's something really exciting or really dull, activating that energy of Mars and incorporating your Mars placement and the themes and symbolism of that placement into whatever it is that you're going to be doing is going to go a long way. And so I'm going to go through Mars in all of the signs just very briefly, so you can kind of get a feel for what this looks like, and you can figure out how to incorporate this energy a little bit more in every single thing that you wish to accomplish, that you wish to set off on. This is also the way that you go about initiating action, and so this could give indicators for how to go about starting those new things that you want to start in 2021, setting those New Year's resolutions and actually jumping in and doing them and keeping them going, right? And so Mars does a lot, right? Mars is really important. Mars gets kind of a bad rap, especially more in like traditional astrology. It's like a malefic planet, but we need Mars, right? We need the fire of Mars to kind of get us motivated, to get us amped up, to give us the energy to do what we need to do in this lifetime. And so the first thing that I want to talk about, again, is Mars in the signs. So Mars in the sign of Aries would be, the first placement. And so Mars in Aries is actually in its home sign in Aries. So it's a lot easier to motivate motivate yourself and to stay motivated when you have Mars in Aries, so long as you're always feeling like you're doing something new, exciting, and fresh. So if you're doing something that's the same, or you have to really maintain your stamina or maintain motivation for a task for an extended period of time, maybe days, weeks, months, or even like years, to really bring it to completion, this can be a problem for Mars in Aries unless you're always thinking about it in a fresh way or in a new way, or doing things in new and exciting ways. And so one thing that I would actually say for Mars and Aries people is that you're really good at getting things started. You might need to delegate in order to really see things through. So for the follow through with the tasks that you initiate, if you are somebody who's able to delegate, that's going to be very helpful because you're really good at getting things going and motivating other people to take action, even when you've lost that motivation. So that would be my biggest tip for Mars and Aries if you can. If you can't, you just have to think about it from new perspectives. You have to try a new approach to the same task every single time that you do it. You also really need to feel passionate and lit up about what it is that you're doing, because that's that fiery energy. And so you might have to let go of certain tasks that are really boring, that are really energy sucking, that are leaving you feeling really bored and dull, and like it's sucking your motivation, right? And so if that's something that is available to you and you're able to do that, then I mean that's kind of a helpful thing. But you really have to look at everything from a fresh perspective and try things in new ways every single day, even if you're doing the same task or the same type of task. So hopefully that makes sense what I'm talking about for Mars and Aries. Mars in Taurus is really slow to get moving. So that's where Mars in Taurus needs motivation. You'll procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate getting started with something. And so you really have to see the full value of what it is that you're going to be accomplishing in order to get the motivation to actually embark on that journey and get things moving, and get out of your comfort zones, right? That's that Mars energy in Taurus, which rules like comfort. It's a fixed earth sign. Taurus energy sticks with what works and what feels good and what feels comfortable. That can be a really great thing in a lot of ways. They're definitely the most like loyal and determined of all of the signs. However, with Mars, that can be problematic because Mars is our willpower, our ambition. It rules getting things going and starting things that are new. And so with Taurus, they might need a little extra push. I would recommend pairing up with a Mars and a fire sign person if you can to get that motivation going. But regardless of how you get it to start, so once you get started, and regardless of how you get it to start, you're going to keep it going and you're going to see it through. So this is a very strong-willed, very determined placement. Once you have locked in and decided you're doing something, you're going to continue to do it. The issue can be maybe that you're doing it in the same way every single time. So there is a need to maybe be a little bit more flexible there. But I don't necessarily see an issue with Mars and Taurus being motivated once they've gotten something started. It's just really getting lit up about initiating the thing. And so you might need to recruit help from others. You might need to really think about how valuable the end result might be for the thing that you're about to embark on. And it might take you a little bit more time to really get going with it. But just know that once you do, you'll stick it through, right? For most of the Mars and Taurus people. Mars in Gemini. Mars in Gemini is really good at starting a lot of tasks, but not necessarily seeing all of them through. So these will be the people that are multitasking and then forgetting about everything that they've started. So the first thing that Mars in Gemini people really need to do is to learn how to focus and concentrate on not just one task, because that won't work. You'll get bored, but just like 3 key tasks for Mars and Gemini people. Pick 3 key tasks that you want to embark on, get started, and work on kind of at the same time, and cycle through those tasks, because you're not going to stay motivated to do the same thing over and over again. And make sure you're not doing anything else. You're not like doing small little tasks here and there. If you've decided that you're going to, write a blog post and create a video and also do some sort of like email marketing sort of announcement or something like that. And those are your 3 big tasks for this week. And I'm using those examples from things that I guess I would be doing, but those are your 3 big tasks for this week, right? If you decide that you also want to do, I got excited about this other idea, this other video, this other thing, this other podcast, somebody has this exciting plan that they want me to do over here. I want to do this too. I'm going to go for a jog outside and, all of these crazy things. You have to kind of rein yourself in, right? And that's going to be up to you to have the willpower to do that. But I don't recommend only doing one thing. So you get bored very easily. And if you are super bored and super unmotivated and you can't get those tasks done, you just can't bring yourself to do it, go out and do something exciting. Take a short, little trip somewhere, talk to a friend, do something that's intellectually stimulating, and then come back to it, because you will need breaks from time to time. Mars and Cancer people. So Mars and Cancer, their motivation can wax and wane depending on their mood and their emotions. And so you want to get yourself into a very positive mindset before embarking on any task or continuing with any really important task in order to increase your productivity. And so with Mars and Cancer, one of the things that I would highly recommend doing is before you set off on your workday, or before you set off on whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish for the day, sit in a meditation and really put yourself in a place of really elevated, really happy, enthusiastic emotion by channeling the memory of something that was really exciting for you that happened in the past, or some accomplishment, something that you achieved. And when you achieved it, it felt really good. It could be something large or small, but sit in meditation for at least 20 minutes and really visualize that experience and feel it in your body. Cultivate the emotions and remember how you felt when that happened. That emotion is going to carry you through the rest of the day and the rest of that task, really, if you're starting something new, and it's going to get you to keep things going. So that's going to be one of the best things that you can do for Mars in Cancer. For Mars in Leo doesn't have really a hard time getting motivated unless the task isn't fun, or you're not excited, or you're not passionate about it. And so if you're doing something that is basically somebody else's thing, right? So if somebody else is telling you to do this thing and you have to do it, and it's not something that feels authentic. It's not something that you feel lit up and you feel passionate about. It's not something that feels fun to you. You're probably not going to feel very motivated to do it. And there's not a lot that you can do to change that with Leos, really. You have to be connected really authentically to the tasks that you're doing. Otherwise, that motivation won't be there. If you have to do something that you really don't want to do, which we all do from time to time, you have to make it fun. You have to keep it light. You have to keep it playful as much as humanly possible, or else, again, it's going to feel like you're trudging through quicksand, like you just can't make it happen, and it's gonna suck. So definitely bringing that playful energy, that optimistic, playful sort of, Leo type of energy into the task that you're doing. That's going to be, I think, the best way to motivate yourself if it's something that you're really not connected to on that heart level. But the best thing to do is to maybe do something more independently, or to connect to work or to different tasks that are more authentic and that are more coming from a place of what you are definitely very creatively passionate about and all of that. So that's Mars in the sign of Leo. Mars in Virgo. Mars in Virgo is not a bad placement. Mars does really well in the fire signs. It does all right in the earth signs for the most part. And in Virgo, not the best energy for kind of big picture stuff. Mars in Virgo is going to be more focused on the details. So that can be problematic sometimes, because they can be so hyper focused on getting this one little piece right, and they'll be very motivated to perfect this one little thing, and they'll miss kind of the big overall scheme of the project that they're working on, and that can be a little bit challenging. So you want to make sure that you're always taking a step back and just looking at the project as a whole and making sure that what it is that you are connecting to or what it is that you're focusing on, it's not overkill and it's not like you're missing all of this other stuff and putting yourself behind schedule to like, especially if you have like a deadline or something like that, just to get this one little part right. So that would be my first thing. The other thing too is that Mars in Virgo, it gets motivated to act in service of others. So the thing that you're doing has to serve a purpose. It has to be practical. It has to do good for other people in some way. So you want to do things that are supporting others in their goals and their plans, in their aspirations. And that's actually going to help you to feel more motivated and more ambitious and more inspired. So that's another thing. So focus on tasks that are helping people or that have some sort of practical value for others. And even if that task at first doesn't seem to have that, think about the ways in which the thing that you're doing is going to help somebody or help other people, even if it's on a very small level moving forward. And that's going to help you to keep the motivation going. Mars in Libra. So Mars in Libra is at its detriment because, Mars is at home in Aries. It's a detriment in Libra. So it doesn't function as efficiently or as strongly in the sign of Libra because Mars is all about your own personal volition, what motivates you. It's about your self-interest and the way that you make that self-interest happen, right? It's the way that you personally motivate yourself to get the job done. Mars in Aries takes into account other people's needs a little bit too much to the point where they can become a little bit frozen. They weigh the options. They don't want to push forward or step on other people's toes. They want to make sure that what they're doing is fair and equal and balanced, and that they're not pushing too far to one side or the other. And there can be a lot of sort of weighing the options before jumping into something, or a lot of second guessing or hesitating or going back on things that they've already started. Mars in Libra does best initiating things in partnership with others because there's that need for that balance and for that outside perspective to make sure that what you're doing is the right thing to do. And that outside perspective or that relationship can actually help provide additional motivation through that Mars in Libra energy, which is an energy about relationships and balance, right? Equilibrium. So that's one way that you can do it. Mars in Libra would be really fired up about doing something to create equality or justice or harmony in other people's lives. So Mars in Libra can actually be very fired up about injustices and things of that nature. And so that's one of those motivating forces where if you see something that's out of balance, where you see something that's unfair, when you see something that's unjust, the desire to correct that injustice or that imbalance is going to be a big motivating force for Libras, and that could be something that you could utilize. And if you can harness that mindset on a smaller scale, like even if the task that you're doing isn't like a big thing that's going to, change society or change people's lives or correct all of these, societal injustices or whatever, think about the ways in which the thing that you're doing can create harmony or balance on a smaller scale in your life or in the lives of other people. Even if it's just a really, really small factor, it's still going to make a difference, right? It's still going to help to create balance. It's still going to help to create harmony in one way or another. So that's another way. So forming relationships or initiating something in partnership with somebody else is a great way to use this energy. And also using this energy as a motivating force to correct imbalances and to create better harmony and better equality in whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, so Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio does not lack motivation. I think Mars actually does best in Scorpio, even over Aries. Mars in Aries can be like, I want what I want when I want it. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to get it now. I don't care what anybody else says, that type of thing. But it's not as as good with the follow through. Mars in Scorpio, if a Mars in Scorpio person is really passionate about what it is that they're doing, they are going to make it happen. They have that psychic energy. They have that laser focused ability to just channel everything into the task at hand. As long as they feel passionate about it, as long as they're deeply connected to what it is that they're doing, they will move mountains to make it happen. And it's incredible to see a Mars and Scorpio person just like manifesting and like, pushing through and getting things done. However, if they're not passionate about what it is that they're doing, if it doesn't feel right to them, if it doesn't feel true to them, they're not going to have that motivation and they're not going to have that energy to push forward with it. And so that's just kind of like a Mars in Scorpio energy. They're either really, really into it. It's very black and white. They're either really, really into it or they're not at all. And if they're not at all, honestly, there's not much that you can do about that. They can only do what they feel truly passionate and truly motivated to do. The best advice I would have for a Mars and Scorpio person, if you do need to be productive in a way that is not exciting to you or that you're not feeling that connection with, that you're not feeling lit up and passionate about, find a new job, find a new thing. But if you can't do that, then definitely try to find something about that thing that you feel connected to, or some sort of end goal that you can really drive yourself toward. Even if that end goal is just like, I want to get this done so I can focus on the thing that I am really excited and lit up about, and looking at the thing that you don't want to do as a means to an end, or as the initial step to getting to where you want to go and getting to the point where you can start the thing that you actually want to do. That would be a good way to use that Mars and Scorpio energy. But that one's kind of tough if you're not lit up about the thing that you're doing. So just keep that in mind. But if you are, oh my goodness. Let's see, Mars and Sagittarius. Mars and Sagittarius can feel really fired up about a lot of different things. This is a good energy. They usually can maintain optimism and motivation and excitement about anything it is that they're doing. The one thing, though, that can feel really restrictive or really challenging for Mars and Sagittarius people is having their freedom restricted in some way, feeling like they don't have the ability to do what they want to do or to move about the world freely. The state of the world right now is probably really hard for Mars and Sagittarius people in particular, just because they need that ability to go off and have that adventure, to do that thing that they want to do. They don't want to feel like they're locked into something where they're not able to have the freedom that they truly and deeply desire. And so, you need to be able to maintain a certain sense of freedom where you're not feeling bogged down by responsibility and by the heaviness of the tasks that you're doing. You have to keep it fun. You have to keep it light. You have to keep it adventurous. They're also very motivated by learning, especially learning about more broader topics, right? Those philosophical types of topics. They love to gain wisdom through their experience and through study and through deepening their understanding of something. And so if you're embarking on a task, look at it as a learning experience. I'm going to learn what this is really all about. I'm going to learn how to do this the right way. I'm going to learn more about this topic as I'm going through the experience of getting it done. That's a really good way to keep a Mars in Sagittarius person more motivated when it comes to whatever task it is that they're doing. Mars in Capricorn is actually like a really great energy. Mars and Capricorn people, they tend to be able to dive right into whatever it is that they that they want to accomplish, so basically Mars in Capricorn people, they'll have a plan. They'll know the practical value of what it is that they're doing. They'll be very realistic about their goals, their ambitions, their motivations, all of that. They'll know everything about it, and then they'll start to do it, and they'll do it in a way that's very measured and very responsible and very even paced. So they're not going to just like jump head first into something and then lose steam like a Mars in Aries, or maybe a Mars in Gemini who's jumping into a bunch of things. They're going to calculate the risk. They're going to make a plan. They're going to start doing the thing, and they're going to keep a very steady pace and they're going to keep that momentum going. And really, they're going to hold themselves to the responsibility that they have taken on. So if they say they're going to do something, a Mars and Capricorn person will almost always do it, and they'll almost always see it through to completion, so long as they have the ability to do so. So a Mars and Capricorn person is not going to need as much motivation or as many tips as a lot of these other placements. I guess I would say the one thing with Mars and Capricorn is that maybe their goals and ambitions could be maybe too grounded, too realistic, and too restrictive, whereas they could probably aim higher and achieve a lot more just because they do have that stamina, that determination, that strong willpower. So that could be kind of a Mars and Capricorn thing as well. All right, Mars and Aquarius. So for Mars and Aquarius people, this is an energy that's this is an energy where you're going to need a lot of excitement. You're going to need to be shaking things up. You're going to be motivated by doing things that are new, that are innovative, that are different, that are outside of the norm, outside of the box. If you're doing something very Capricornian, very structured, very methodical, you're not going to be wanting to do it. It's going to feel like you're in a cage, and it's going to feel very heavy, and it's going to cause you to procrastinate. It's going to cause you to maybe even, not live up to other people's expectations or to the responsibilities that you've taken on. And so you need to have a lot of excitement. You need the ability to be flexible. You need the ability to come to conclusions independently and to do things in ways that are uniquely your own. So one of the ways that you can stay motivated, even if you're doing a task that's kind of mundane or, repetitive, or something that you do pretty frequently that's getting kind of dull, is that you can come up with new, innovative, unusual ways to approaching that same task. So if you normally, even it could be as small as if you normally do a task like in one room on your computer, go off and do it in another room on another device, go to the park and do it, or approach the situation, approach the strategy from a completely different way, maybe back engineer it instead of going like first to last, whatever it is that you need to do in order to keep it fresh and to keep it exciting. Switch it up as much as possible. Do not do things in a repetitive fashion. Do not do the same thing over and over again if you can help it. Try new things, do it in new ways, even if it's the same type of task. And then finally, Mars and Pisces. Mars and Pisces is probably one of the most difficult placements it's the most difficult placement for Mars, and I'm going to stand by that statement. But Mars in the sign of Pisces can be very difficult to motivate, and it can be very difficult to figure out what it is that you actually even want to do and to get your energy going behind that thing. It's a very confusing energy. So Mars in Pisces doesn't know what to start, when to start it, how to get it going, how to continue with it. It's kind of that energy, right, where it can be a little all over the place when it comes to the way that they initiate action, and when it comes to the way that they follow through with things. They can be very ambivalent toward the tasks that they start. They can, shy away from obligation for a lot of different reasons. And this is really an energy where their energy is drained, right? It's an energy where their energy is drained. But Mars rules like your vitality, right? Your not your life force in the sense of like the sun, but it's like the energy that you need to make things happen sometimes isn't there. The one thing I would say with Mars in Pisces that works really well for them is visualization. And so definitely they can be very motivated for like spiritual tasks. They can be very motivated for charitable causes or for standing up for somebody who's less fortunate. That's where they really get that fire going. And so if those are things that are applicable to you, definitely tap into that energy as much as possible, because even if it's not to do with the task at hand, that's going to keep that fire going, and it's going to keep you motivated. It's going to keep you moving forward. But Mars and Pisces people, they definitely do well with visualization, because you think about that energy of Pisces. It's the imagination. It's like a fantasy world. It is visualization. It is dreams. And so this would be another one where I would say doing a meditation, very similar to what I said with Cancer, except instead of focusing on the emotion, although that can be a component of it, really visualize the end result of the thing that you want to accomplish and see it in a a fully formed state, already done, already there. And that's really going to help to motivate you and help to give you the clarity. You won't necessarily always know how you're going to get there, but just knowing what the end result is going to be and just knowing how that's going to look for you will help to guide you intuitively toward that end result. And even if it's something boring and mundane and all that, still visualizing the end result and experiencing how you're going to feel when that task is done, even if that feeling is just relief, that's going to be a motivating factor. So I would say before you start your workday, before you start any new task, visualize the end result for Mars and Pisces. That's going to be a big motivator for you. Okay, and so that is my first tip, is to look at Mars in the signs and to adjust your workflow, adjust your approach, adjust your strategy accordingly. My second tip is actually going to be also involving Mars. So look at the Mars transits throughout the year, and you can track this with an astrological calendar. You can, in my newsletters that I send out for free every single month, my monthly astro highlights, I always talk about the transits from one sign to another with all of the planets. So as soon as one planet ingresses into another sign, it's in there in those astro highlights. You could even just sign up for my newsletter. That link is down in the description below. And every single month, you'll have a list of when Mars is moving into another sign and when all of the inner and outer planets are moving into another sign. But with Mars, the place that it's showing up in your personal birth chart, so this is where you're going to need to have a birth time, and you're going to need to know how to pull up your birth chart. I will do a video about how to pull up the birth chart and look at that pretty soon into the future here, probably sometime at the beginning of January. But most of you already know how to do this. And so you pull up your birth chart and look at which sign occupies which house and where Mars is going to be at different times in the year, and plan accordingly, because the topics and themes associated with the house that Mars is transiting through, those topics and themes are going to be a very big source of inspiration and motivation. You're going to feel very fired up about doing something in that area of life at that time. And so you can plan your year, you can plan your month, you can plan to strategize and utilize your energy accordingly. And so at certain points in the year, you're going to feel much more motivated for getting work done or making money. At other points in the year, you're going to feel much more motivated about getting things done around the house, around the home. And even if you have other tasks to do during that time, which you will, utilizing that energy of Mars in the house that it's in is going to keep you motivated to do other things outside of those topics. And I know that might not make sense to some of you, but anytime that you're associating with, or you're aligning your energy with the energy of Mars and what it's doing in your chart, you're strengthening Mars, right? You're strengthening motivation, you're strengthening willpower, you're strengthening ambition. So even if you have a big work project that's due, if Mars is in your fourth house and it's telling you that you need to you maybe renovate something in your home or repaint or do some sort of work around the house, some sort of handyman project, do it, right? Even if it seems like a distraction, that's going to get you feeling motivated to do the other things. And so that's my my Mars transits spiel there. But I also highly recommend that you look at Mars cycles. And so by Mars cycles, I mean where Mars is right now in respect to your natal Mars. And so you'll have a Mars conjunction, you'll have a Mars square Mars, you'll have Mars opposing Mars, you'll have Mars square Mars again, you'll have Mars coming back into that conjunction once every 2 years or so. And this is a really important cycle to look at. So the Mars return, so the Mars conjunction is a time where you're seeding something new. And it's a time where things might not be happening necessarily externally, but there's a sense that something new is beginning, and you might actually be embarking on something new, but not really seeing where it's going or seeing results. The Mars squares, you're going to feel extra motivated. You're going to have a lot of energy to push through, and that's where you're actually getting physical results, or you're having physical things happen as a result of the actions that you've been taking. And then those Mars oppositions are especially important to look at because you need to plan around them, because the Mars opposition is a time where without exception, every single person, every single client that I've had, when they have these Mars oppositions, It's always a time where you're lacking in energy. It's a time where you feel like you have a lot to do because so many things are coming to their culmination when it comes to things that were initiated in the past. But those things that are coming to a culmination, you don't feel like you have the energy or the motivation, or maybe even you're lacking in the physical vitality because of like illness or something like that to actually carry things out. So you actually need to plan lighter then, even though it's going to feel counterintuitive and it's going to feel like stressful because you have so many things that you feel like you need to do right then. For the sake of your health and for the sake of actually being more productive, you're going to need to plan lighter usually when you have the Mars opposition. So those are my first two tips: Mars placements, Mars transits. My third tip is to look at the energy of the 6th house. And so the 6th house, like I mentioned before, rules your daily rhythms, your daily routines. It rules basically what you need in order to feel fulfilled and to continue feeling motivated and to be most productive in your day-to-day life with those normal routine tasks in your work and in your normal just everyday environment. And so another thing that you can do that is going to be very helpful is to align your workflow and your workspace with the energy present in your 6th house. And that includes the sign that occupies the 6th house and the planets that occupy the 6th house. And now for this one, I'm not going to go through every single sign. I actually did go through a lot of the signs. I think I did all of the signs when I did my webinar with Ksenia, Navigating Career and Business. So you might want to check that out. It's a donation-based webinar if you want more information about aligning yourself with the energy of your 6th house. But, I'll give you guys a couple of examples here. So if you have your 6th house occupied by Capricorn, then you're going to need a really rigid structure. You're going to need rules. You're going to need habits. You're going to need like something that's kind of repetitive. You're going to want more of that repetitive energy. You're going to want more discipline in your day-to-day experience. You're going to do better with rules and regulations and structures, even if you're the one creating those for yourself. And so you need a more structured work environment and a more structured work day to be more productive. If you have Pisces in your 6th house, that's a completely different energy. That's where you're going to need to go with the flow, move with the energy, do what feels good to you on a day-to-day basis. You're going to need creative space. You're going to need contemplative space. You're going to need space in general. So this is not a rigidly scheduled workday kind of thing. If you have, let's say, the 6th house occupied by Gemini, that's going to be an energy where you're going to be wanting to do a lot of things. It's kind of like that Mars in Gemini energy where you're going to be multitasking. You're going to want to be switching it up every single day. You're going to be wanting to do a lot of different tasks. And also you want an environment to work in that's intellectually stimulating and that allows you to communicate with other people. So people who have the 6th house occupied by Gemini tend not to do well working in an isolated position. So working from home and not having connection to any other people, that doesn't work well for Gemini 6th house people unless their job involves a lot of communication back and forth, or they're communicating with coworkers and things like that and collaborating with other people throughout the workday. Even when they're apart, if they're just doing an isolated task, like they're at the computer crunching numbers by themselves in a room, that is like hell for somebody who has Gemini in their 6th house. That's not going to work well for most of them. Obviously, planetary placements can alter this to a certain extent, but so those are just a couple of examples of the house placements or the sign placements in the 6th house and what that might look like. So you can look up your own and figure out how you can align your workspace and your workflow with that energy in order to be more productive and to be much more satisfied in your daily work routines and your work habits and all of that. Finally, my bonus tip. My bonus tip is to get a lunar calendar and track what the moon is doing. You want to, first off, make note of where the moon is every single day, how motivated you feel, and how you feel kind of in general, because that's going to be different for every single person. Different moon signs are going to have different effects on every single person based on your own personal astrology, your own personal birth chart, your own personal house placements, all of it. So you want to keep that in mind, and you want to track that and do that for a few months and start to see patterns, right? You'll start to see that certain moon signs bring you a lack of motivation where you just want to rest. Plan lightly on those days. Other moon signs have you feeling really amped up, really excited, really creative. Plan for big, exciting, creative things on that day, right? Other moon signs make you procrastinate. Other moon signs make you want to communicate, reach out, do things that are more interactive. Use that, right? As much as you can. I know that not every single person can plan for the entire month to do what the moon sign says, but as much as you can do that, do it, because that's going to help you to be much more productive. Plan tasks that align with your energy throughout the month based on what the moon is doing. The other thing with the moon is to look at the void of course moon periods. Every single time almost that I have been working like for hours or for an entire day, and I feel like nothing has gotten done. You guys have been there, right? You're working all day, but it's like, what did I do? Nothing happened. I accomplished nothing. How? Everyone has that experience. Check if the moon is void next time you have that experience, because every time I do that, I realize that I forgot the moon is void, and I tried to do some tasks that was like really important during that time and nothing got accomplished. It's almost always a void of course moon. So I do try to keep track of those, but even I slip, and I don't always look at exactly what the moon's doing all the time. And I realized that I did things inappropriately, and then I have to, I feel like I wasted a whole day. So if you can plan around that and do just mundane, routine, kind of maintenance types of tasks during the void of course moon periods, or even take a break and rest if that's something that's available to you, that's the best way to use the void of course moon, as opposed to trying to do important, more productive tasks. And so, yeah, that's going to be my last tip for you. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this information helps you to align yourself more appropriately with your own personal energy, so you can stay motivated and be super productive and super successful in 2021 and beyond. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.